miles an hour, gusts much higher than that, bringing with her all kinds of problems. Buildings have collapsed. There are reports from New Orleans.
In New Orleans, officials now fear thousands may have died in Hurricane Katrina and its flooding aftermath. People have sought refuge in Superdome.
So that's pretty much the track of the storm.
The scientific consensus is that we are causing global warming. I am Al Gore. I used to be the next president of the United States of America. This is Patagonia 75 years ago and the same glacier today. This is Mount Kilimanjaro 30 years ago and last year. Within the decade, there will be no more snows of Kilimanjaro. This is really not a political issue so much as a moral issue. Temperature increases are taking place all over the world, and that's causing stronger storms. This is Mount Kilimanjaro more than 30 years ago and more recently. And a friend of mine just came back from Kilimanjaro with a picture he took a couple months ago. Another friend, Lonnie Thompson, studies glaciers. Here's Lonnie with a last sliver of one of the once mighty glaciers. Within the decade, there will be no more snows of Kilimanjaro. This is happening in Glacier National Park. I climbed to the top of this in 1998 with one of my daughters. Within 15 years, this will be the park formerly known as Glacier. Here is what's been happening year by year to the Columbia Glacier. It just retreats every single year. And it's a shame because these glaciers are so beautiful, but those who go up to see them, here's what they're seeing every day now. In 1992, they measured this amount of melting in Greenland. 10 years later, this is what happened. And here's the melting from 2005. Tony Blair's scientific advisor has said that because of what's happening in Greenland right now, the maps of the world will have to be redrawn. If Greenland broke up and melted, or if half of Greenland and half of West Antarctica broke up and melted, this is what would happen to the sea level in Florida. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay. A lot of people live in these areas. The Netherlands, one of the low countries. Absolutely devastating. The area around Beijing that's home to tens of millions of people. Even worse, in the area around Shanghai, there are 40 million people. Worse still, Calcutta and to the east, Bangladesh, the area covered includes 60 million people. Think of the impact of a couple 100,000 refugees when they're displaced by an environmental event. And then imagine the impact of 100 million or more. But isn't it interesting that the whole ocean current system is all linked together in this loop? They call it the ocean conveyor. And the red are the warm surface currents. The Gulf Stream is the best known of them. But the blue represent the cold currents running in the opposite direction. And we don't see them at all because they run along the bottom of the ocean. Up in the North Atlantic, after that heat is pulled out, what's left behind is colder water and saltier water because the salt doesn't go anywhere. And so that makes it denser and heavier. And so that cold, dense, heavy water sinks at the rate of 5 billion gallons per second. And then that pulls that current back south. At the end of the last ice age, as the last glacier was receding from North America, the ice melted and a giant pool of fresh water formed in North America. And the Great Lakes are the remnants of that huge lake. An ice dam on the eastern border formed, and one day it broke. And all that fresh water came rushing out, ripping open the St. Lawrence there. and it diluted the salty, dense cold water, made it fresher and lighter, so it stopped sinking, and that pump shut off, and the heat transfer stopped, and Europe went back into an ice age for another 900 to 1,000 years.
He